Evolutionary Order podcast coming your way, episode 406. Stevesmi here, and the Rickster. What's up, buddy?
Hey, what's up, Steve? What's up, guys? How's everybody doing out there?
All right, buddy. Let's do this. So this episode, guys, we're gonna talk about our hobbies that are connected to fitness. They could be hobbies that help us excel in our fitness goals, hobbies that help us de-stress, because that's very important. We're gonna talk about those, and we're gonna talk about some of the things we like to do. So the first one we're gonna talk about, Rick, do you want to go first, or you want me to go first?
You get it started, Steve. You're on a roll. Hit it up.
All right, guys. So the first one I'm going to talk about is yoga. And both Rick and I do yoga. And just right off the bat, many of you out there have never done yoga. And a lot of people ask me all the time on the forums, there's like, why should I learn yoga? How's this going to help me with my weight training? And I say that you should absolutely be doing yoga, because the way yoga can help you with your weight training is, first of all, it's going to de-stress you, but that's not even the tip of the iceberg. It's going to increase your mobility. It's going to increase your flexibility. It's going to help get your joints more wet, because when you weight train, what do you do when you weight train? You're compressing everything in your body. You're drying out your joints in the process. Yoga does the opposite. Yoga decompresses your body. Yoga increases mobility. If you ever got a shoulder injury with your rotator cuff, for example, why did you get that injury in the first place? It's because your shoulder was too dry. Your shoulder didn't have mobility. Your shoulder didn't have flexibility. So when you're lifting weights, that thing is going to tear because of that. So if you had been doing yoga all along, that shoulder would be mobile. It would be flexible. It wouldn't be like, kind of rubbing two things together and it tearing. So it will absolutely help you with your weight training. It's going to help you with your spine. It's going to help you with your disc. But here's the key with yoga. There's different types of yoga, guys and gals. There's the old people yoga, which I wouldn't even tell you to do unless you just want to go and sit in a room with a bunch of old people and just relax. It's not really going to do anything for you as far as physically. What I would recommend to you do is learn hot yoga and Bikram yoga. In Bikram yoga specifically, there's different Bikram yoga studios around the country. They open up a lot of them. Okay. And basically Bikram style yoga is 26 poses, and they're all basically, it's all about imbalances. Like when you're doing the 26 poses, they basically hit everything in your body and they hit both sides. It's really phenomenal. And you'll get a good stretch in the heat. You're going to sweat your balls off. You're going to de-stress yourself. You're going to increase your flexibility, increase your mobility like crazy. And you're also going to increase your heart health in the process and your organ health across the board. It's one of the most difficult styles of yoga you could possibly do. So it's a 90-minute class, 26 poses in 104, 105 degree heat. Very challenging. So those of you listening to this, if you want to try this out and listen to me on this, go find a Bikram yoga studio near you and go to a class and do it for 90 minutes. You will be amazed at the difficulty of it. It's a challenge, but you will also love the benefits that it's going to give you. You'll notice the benefits right away. Well, as soon as you leave the class, your neck will feel better, your back will feel better. You'll just feel amazing stretch during the class. And you're going to be in a room full of half naked women. That's the beauty part of yoga. So that's really the fun part of doing the hot style yoga. So, and you can show off your body in front of them too. So that gives you a little incentive. But it's really an awesome thing and mandatory. If you look at, some of the best bodybuilders like Flex Wheeler, for example, he can do a split. He's extremely flexible. In the NFL, athletes that maintain their flexibility and mobility, they avoid injuries. It's really amazing how it works in our body. So it's absolutely important. The more flexible you are, the less chance of injury you have. If you're not a flexible person, I've never been a flexible person. My spine just bends a certain way. I'm just not a flexible guy. And when you weight train for years and years and years, you weaken your flexibility and you weaken your mobility. So yoga is like taking your car in for a maintenance check. It's like going to the dentist and getting your teeth cleaned. It's absolutely mandatory if you want to stay healthy long term. So give it a shot, guys, but go to a good yoga studio. Hot yoga, and especially Bikram style hot yoga. That's the one to look for in your area. Don't go to old people yoga. Don't waste your time with that. Rick, what's your hobby that you like?
I want to add in a little bit about yoga. You can do some at home too by yourself. It's actually real simple, real easy. Hot yoga is the truth. That's where you want to be at. Now, you don't have to look for Bikram because a lot of old Bikram yoga places changed their name because Bikram had a bunch of lawsuits and issues with some kind of sexual misconduct. So a lot of guys and gals that paid their 10, 20, 30 grand, whatever it was that they were going to these seminars to be able to open a Bikram yoga, ended up changing the name, taking Bikram out of it after some of these allegations came out. So hot yoga is kind of where you want to be at. And you'll notice that a lot of those guys that own hot yoga places did study with Bikram. They just abandoned the brand for reasons. Yeah, yoga is the shit. Make sure you can do some at home too. And also a 1 hour yoga class can be real challenging. I just make it a point to go, and there's some positions that I just kind of sit out that I have asked, I try, and then if I'm in a real heavy that week where I'm trying to cut somebody fat and I'm a little bit drained out, if I feel a little bit like shit, I just take it easy and slow down. Yoga is not like a sport. Your whole mindset should be to stay in that fucking room for that hour, and to keep moving. But if you're feeling tired, if you can't do some of the positions, you just take a break, take your time. And that's going to lead into my next hobby, which I'm going to suggest everyone out there take up: boxing and Brazilian jiu-jitsu or. Now, hear me out, guys. If you go to a good boxing place, I would suggest if you want to learn good boxing, go to an MMA school and find a boxing guy at the MMA school. Because if you go to a purist boxing gym, a lot of the pure boxing gym, they're trying to get fighters out of the door, and you might not get the attention that you're really looking for. But you'd be surprised how many MMA gyms have guys fighting in kickboxing, doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu tournaments, and they sending guys over to MMA. So you're always going to find good classes at MMA gyms, and you can go to a boxing class for 2-3 years, learn how to put your weight behind your punches, learn how to have some hand speed, learn how to really proper boxing technique, and you never get punched in the head. I think something that keeps a lot of guys from going into boxing instead of some of these, look, I see guys, right, with their trainers jumping on boxes and shit in my gym. I'm like, that guy could be fucking doing some boxing and kickboxing right now, learning something actually useful instead of hopping on top of that, up on top of a boxing, off the box and up on top of the box. What the fuck is he doing? So it's something for you guys to think about out there. Like you have to get that cardio in. You got to get your heart rate up. Do it doing something that's useful. Boxing, like I said, man, go to a good boxing gym, take the beginners classes. When you get there, you have to learn how to wrap your hands. You can watch a video on that. It's easy as hell to wrap your hands. Then you just go, you get with a partner. Somebody will hold the pads. You hit the pads. Then it's your turn. You take off your gloves. You grab the pads. They have the box. You hold pads for them. You're learning too. As you're holding pads, you're training yourself to watch these punches come at you. And it's building up some of your reflexes and such. And then class is done, and you're not going to get punched in the face. You're not going to get pressured to spar. As a matter of fact, most respectable gyms, you'd have to ask and pressure guys to get in on the sparring days, to come in on Friday nights, Thursday nights, whenever the sparring day is. you'd have to actually show you got something going to get some burn. So you're not going to get hurt. Nothing. You're not going to be pressured into a fight. Nothing, dude. You actually show up, you hit the pads, then you hold the pads. You're learning how to throw punches. Then you're learning to watch punches come at you. You get a great workout in. It's always a great workout, boxing is. And in a few boxing classes, you're done. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, if you were ever a wrestler in high school and you did it long enough, you could do Jiu-Jitsu. The thing a lot of guys I know don't like about Jiu-Jitsu is just being wrapped up with another dude and having some other dude that you're dealing with on the ground, sweat everywhere. I mean, it's kind of, if you think about it, it's kind of nasty. You know, you're watching a UFC fight and you see these fighters start fourth round championships, right? They're bathing each other's sweat and blood and snot and everything. It's kind of very personal. So if you wrestled, you'd be good with that. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you'll train with people at your level. You should be getting hurt. If you go to a good studio, most of the guys you're going to be training against are accountants and lawyers and nurses and real estate agents. I mean, that's who you're actually in there doing jiu-jitsu against. And you get to train with a life partner, somebody who's offering resistance every time you go. It's very rare that you'll get hurt unless you are, unless you're kind of like higher level, like me. I go in there, do no gi. I actually go at it with people, like we fucking go at it. And these are guys that already have some experience. So you could doing a jerky movement or trying to power it out of a submission where you should have maybe gave in with the more higher level advanced guys, then you might end up getting a little bit hurt. But if you go in there as a white belt your first year, man, you just roll easy, take it easy. If something doesn't feel right, you give a signal. Everybody, those guys who own those Brazilian jiu-jitsu gyms, they want you coming back month after month. They don't want you getting hurt. So it's just a good thing. I'm putting that out there because I see a lot of guys like you're fucking jumping on boxes and you're carrying shit on your back and like you're doing, like I see a lot of, okay, I guess if you maybe would run into a move one day and shit, like you got to move, you're moving from a house to another. Like, I guess if something like that ever came up, but you get just as good of a cardio training. You're still working out your muscles. You're developing a nice looking physique too. Your abs are just going to be insane. And you're boxing and you're learning how to wrestle. You're learning something you can use, because jumping on boxes and carrying, medicine balls around and all this shit. I mean, it's okay. Don't get me wrong. Look, even professional fighters do that. Okay, it's not bad, but the professional fighters already know the technique of fighting. You should just learn the technique of fighting, the technique of defending yourself. It's, man, after just 6 months doing boxing classes, you're gonna learn how to put your weight behind your punches, man. It's a different story. You're listening to this, you're 180 pounds, 200, 250 pound guy, whatever you are. Your punches don't put that much weight behind it. Now, if you just learn how to power from your feet, move your feet up your body, and then throw your weight behind it, now you can really put a couple 100 pounds behind your knuckles. Like it all it takes is you don't even have to work out that much. You just got to change your technique up. Just build a muscle memory. Really, so it is kind of the punch starts from your foot, pretty much almost your foot the way up to your shoulder, and then the arm goes. And you just 6 months, a year, you learn how to do that. You'll become a deadly person. You'll become a dangerous fucking man. You'll learn to keep it under control, like Jordan Peterson says. Be a dangerous man, and you'll keep it under control. Being good, knowing how to fight, because there'll be nothing more embarrassing. Dude, telling you're 6 foot tall, 200 and something pounds, and you get into an argument with a little guy like me at a fucking parking lot, and I embarrass you in front of your wife, in front of your girlfriend. So I'll fuck you up. You know what I mean? It's real, right? Because I've trained. I know how to put my weight behind a punch that's going to hit your chin. You might not, dude. You might not even fucking see it coming. So one of the best things you could do for yourself, learn how to defend yourself. You don't know when you're really going to need it, and you're still getting your cardio in. You're still getting those reps in. You're still getting your training in. That's all I got to say for that.
You're very passionate about it for sure. We'll definitely talk about it in the future. So next one, I'm going to change it up a little bit. I didn't really have time in the pre-show to decide. I'm going to change mine to gardening. And the reason I'm going to do that is if you look in the blue zones, what do they do in the blue zones? They all do. The blue zones are people that live to 100. Like those are parts of the world they live to 100. They all have several things in common. Their diets are excellent. They all fast. They all help each other in their community. They help each other when someone needs something. And one of the big ones, Rick, is gardening. And that's one that a lot of people don't do. And I grew up, I had grandparents that taught me gardening when I was a young kid. And for some reason, I loved it because I love growing my own food and picking it and eating it. So I think gardening is wonderful. And, I have a little garden and I've not once, Rick, I make a lot of guacamole. I've not once in the past 2 years had to buy culantro from the supermarket. So culantro, notice I said culantro, not cilantro. Culantro, Culantro. So easy to grow and you don't need much of it. You want to use a tiny amount in your guacamole or it's going to ruin. It's so strong. It's much stronger than cilantro.
It's a small amount. My grandmother has a saying about culantro. She says, bueno es el culantro, pero no tanto. Says culantro is great, but just not a lot of it. Yeah. So it's very, very powerful.
But you can use it in anything. But my point and the reason I'm bringing it up is because it's so easy to grow and it doesn't die. It just stays alive unless you kill it, like from not watering it or not giving it sun. All you gotta do is give it some water and give it sun, and it will live forever and it will keep making more. It multiplies. So if you have a big pot like sitting in your patio, you can probably keep that thing alive for a long time. Or if you have a little garden outside, you can keep it alive for sure. So it's so easy to grow. Tomatoes are very easy to grow as long as it's not too hot outside, too dry. There's all kinds of things you can grow: peppers, cucumbers. So I grow a lot of things, and I have a little garden, and I grow things. And gardening is very relaxing. And gardening is something. It's like just a little hobby, and you can just every day spend a little time on your garden. You can clip where things that need to be clipped. You can pick things that need to get picked. You can get rid of weeds. You can do all kinds of stuff, and you can use like a natural fertilizer, eggshells, any type of meat that you're throwing away, bones. Instead of throwing all that stuff away, bury it in your garden and it will provide a natural fertilizer. So it's a great way to kind of not waste any food, because any food that you're going to throw away, you just throw it in your garden and it will help the garden with a natural fertilizer. So that's really good. And I'm shocked that people out there don't have gardens, because you don't need much space to have a little garden in your patio and your backyard. And it doesn't have to be in the ground. You can do above ground gardens that are with hangers. So there's all kinds of strategies to gardening. It's a really
What's
good.
the time commitment on a good garden that makes sense, that'll actually provide enough food to make it worth it? But what's the time commitment on that, weekly or monthly?
It's not much, man. Like as long as if you're not getting water, if it's not with vegetables and herbs, they need water. So if it's not raining outside, you definitely want to water them once a day. And then you want to like weed here and there. You want to cut or prune things that need to be cut or pruned. You need to, if you have a climbing type of fruit or vegetable like a cucumber, for example, or grapes or something like that climb, you need to make sure you help it climb. You need to prune once or twice a year. And it's not that time consuming, man, at all. And it's not.
Have you ever had to go hunting for a rabbit?
What's that from? What Disney movies that from?
That's Warner Brothers Rabbit. So do you ever have rodents or squirrels or rabbits come and eat your stuff?
Yes, I definitely do. It's funny. I had a rodent eating my cucumbers, and my cat actually one day brung it inside dead. So, and then my cucumbers never got eaten again. So my cat got it taken care of.
Oh, so you got a cat guard in the garden, basically.
Yep, yep. And then yep. And I have lizards too in the garden. They eat all the bugs and roaches. So yep, using nature to as your and there's natural pesticides that you can use that you can spray on there. That's like a soapy type of stuff, but they're not like real pesticides, but they do the job very well and they're organic. So you want to look for that. Don't use like actual pesticides ever in a garden or herbicides, or you're ruining it. So you want to keep it organic. So all right, buddy, what do you got? Yep.
There's an herb that's just like a mint. It's called yerba buena. They call it in South American Colombia. It's like a mint dish. You can make teas out of it. My mom and the grandma tried to grow some here, and the squirrel kept fucking taking the yerba buena because they liked it, and it was done. We don't have a cat, so there's nothing to keep the squirrels from eating the yerba buena.
Yerba mate?
No, yerba mate is something they use in Argentina as a stimulant. They drink it there in Argentina in a cup with a straw that has a filter attached to the straw. It's part of their culture. It's like their coffee. It's like the tea to the English is what yerba mate is to Argentinian people. But no, this is called yerba buena. It's got it's almost like a mint. It's just not mint. It has a different kind of taste than mint, but it's very much like it in how it gives that aroma and stuff.
All right, buddy. So what's the next one? I'm excited to hear it.
Next one I'm gonna throw at you guys is paintball. Paintball. I know it's gonna sound weird to you guys out there, paintball, but hear me out. So I've been playing paintball competitively since I was about 18, 19 years old is when I entered my first tournament. And it's been a while since I've played competitively. And paintball is probably nowadays one of the best and coolest hobbies you can get into. It's one of the best and coolest things you can become competitive in without it being like you got to know a lot of shit to be competitive in other sports. The learning curve in paintball is such that you can really learn the sport and become really good at it in a matter of just a few months. And paintball is like you can start a 3-man team to do little 3-man tournaments. It could be you, your son, and your daughter. And even if, as long as they're 13, 14 years old, around that age, they can carry the marker around. We don't call them guns anymore, call them paintball markers. You guys can compete and win shit and rock shit because the way the sport is, although athleticism can help, it's not the end all be all. It's really about smarts, about just having good technique, about being able to focus and listen and have situational awareness. It's a hugely mental game that you're playing with your body, pretty much. And the guns, the markers that we use nowadays that play, they're so fun. These fucking things are electronic, got a little computer chip in them, and they can fire as many as 15 paintballs a second. When you raise your gun and you start shooting, it looks like there's a rope coming out of this thing. It's very satisfying. And the guns are cheap. Back when I got started, if you wanted an electronic gun that could maybe shoot about 10 to 12 bolts per second and maybe break some of them in the barrel, have malfunctions, you're paying upwards of $2,000. Nowadays, for about $300 to $500, you can get a gun that shoots 15 bolts a second, has eyes and lasers and shit to make sure that the balls are properly chambered before they're fired off. Different firing modes. I mean, these things are like little machine guns now for like I said, $500, $300. And it's an incredibly satisfying game. It's just all about technique. There are times that I go in there and play. I go into the field and I do pickup games with ex competitive players because there's a lot of guys that competed, don't feel like doing it anymore. I'm one of those guys, just the expense and the traveling and the time commitment. I'm just like, oh, fuck that. I'm kind of, my competitive paintball days are done. But if I wanted to pick it up again at 40, I could go and compete and maybe even be better than I was when I was in my 20s. It's just, the game is about technique, And there's different styles of paintball too that you can play, guys. You can play in the woods like you're pretending to be Army Man, or you can play in a field that's geometrical. There are no trees or shrubs or anything in that field. There's actual plastic, sometimes inflatable bunkers. They're symmetrical, that side of the field to yours. And you can put a plan together for who goes where. It's just a very satisfying, very joyful game. If you're athletic, you can play with your athleticism. If you're not a very athletic person, you can, if you've got mobility issues, you know, there are guys that are in there with a prosthetic leg. There are guys playing with just one arm, competitively, high level. Because at the end of the day, what really matters is your technique, your ability to get behind a cover and keep your gun up, your ability to communicate with people, to understand where everybody's at, situational awareness. And they're one-on-one tournaments, they're 3-on-3 tournaments, they're 5-on-5 tournaments, they're 10-on-10 tournaments. I mean, there's just all kinds of serious, and that's why that's what I kind of like about paintball. It's one of those sports where I could like literally, I could talk to one of my buddies today, and on Sunday be geared up and play a tournament with them. And I didn't have to be practicing paintball this time. Like I just get on the field, and the first couple of minutes I'm fucking back in the game. Like I can play again. It's like real easy. You know, it's different when I've taken time off from jitsu or boxing or whatever, and then I come back in. You know, those first couple of days rolling with guys after I've been away from jiu-jitsu for a while, I'm not that great. But paintball, once you pick up the skills, once you know what you're doing, it's a very satisfying game. You just go out to the paintball field, get a rental gun, get in with the newbies, you know, make sure you let them know this is your first time playing. Get out there, play, and just give it a shot. You'll see it. And there's just high levels of this stuff, like tournaments in Dubai and Aruba, sponsored, you know, like there's high levels of this stuff now. They're professional paintball players that get paid, their expenses paid and everything just to go play and represent a couple of brands in the game. Also, the clothing, the t-shirts, the hats they make are pretty fucking cool too, for any of you guys out there that like that kind of stuff. So it's just a hobby I'm throwing out there, something you guys you could literally Google right now, paintball fields in your area, make a call or two, figure out what you need to do to get out there, and you'll be playing this Saturday or Sunday with other new people that are this is the first time playing. And then as you progress, you just ask for those games. You come in like I do. I bring my gear. I come in. I go. Guys, have any real players playing? No tournament guys. Just playing around. Oh yeah, they're on field 5. So you just get out there on field 5. And when I get out there, there are no referees. There's nobody guiding the shit. Same players are refereeing. It's just like pickup game around a bunch of guys that know how to gun shoot, how to shoot guns. Like it gets real, you know. And then there's those fields where the new guys go. First time there, a dad with his 2-3 kids, the wife sometimes, and they'll play with other families, and then there's those games, and you ask for those games when you go to the field, or what your experience level is, and you go, and it's look, you could be listening to this podcast today, never having played paintball in your life, and you go out this weekend or next weekend and you check it out, and 3-4 months from now, you literally could be in a fucking tournament, trying to be playing competitively, which it's always cool when there's something on the table. It's that easy, is that grade. There's tournaments for new people, for their first time tournaments for beginners.
You didn't say does it hurt when you get hit?
Oh, I mean it'll give you a welt or two, but I mean it's nothing. The adrenaline and stuff is really nothing.
You kill someone up close if you hit them like right in the right spot.
No way. The paintballs just don't have enough. They don't have enough mass to do that. The paintball will break before it transfers enough mass onto your body. The paintball will actually maybe welt the skin a little bit, but if it pushes in any harder, the paintball breaks, and that dissipates the energy. Unlike if it was a rubber ball, then it would just keep push further into you. You maybe could kill someone with a rubber ball going 280 feet per second up close. You might be could, because the mass of it will transfer. But paintballs, the mass doesn't transfer. It breaks and the liquid and the shell dissipates all the strength of it. You feel a sting when you get hit, and you have some welts, but they're the most satisfying welts you'll ever have. I mean, look, I fucking do jitsu. I come out of there sometimes looking like I fell off a motorcycle or something. I mean, I've worn my gi without anything under, and you get welted up, you get fucked up. So it's just part of the game. But I mean, yeah, you get a welt or two, but it's satisfying, and the adrenaline. I mean, it's just a great thing to do, man. It's one of the best, one of the most fun you can have with your clothes on is playing paintball.
All right, buddy. I'm gonna do one at the end. I'm gonna let you go next because you're on a roll. What's your third one?
Well, I talked about mountain biking on the podcast a lot, so I'm going to keep it real short. Just get a bike and get out there, man. Just get a bike and get out there. We live in America. We got trails for bike riding everywhere. You got kinds. Just get on a bike and get out there. And if you can get a bike with a decent suspension and start climbing some hills so you can do some downhills, you'll develop a love for the feeling of being on a downhill bike. I'll tell you, okay, so I'm going to tell you guys the story of the first time I went downhill, just a real quick story. So I get myself my bike. I'm a very athletic person, and I've ridden bicycles since I was a kid, but I get on this, I get myself a good bike. I spent, I don't know, I think my first bike, I spent about $600 on it. And I get out there with some guys that know their shit, and we climb up this hill, climb very, very, very up to the top. And we get up there, there's a nice stream there. You fucking jump in the stream with your clothes on. I mean, with your biking clothes on. I mean, it's cool. You're already sweaty anyway. So you just get fresh water to wash out the sweat out of your clothes. Get in there, hang out, take some pictures. And then we get set to go back downhill the same way we came up. Now, I fucking get on the bike and I head on this first downhill. It's about a block. And as I'm going down this fucking thing on this bicycle, and this thing is kind of bouncing everywhere, I'm thinking, what the fuck did I get myself into? Like, it was scary for like the first few seconds. Then I said to myself, Rick, stop being a fucking pussy. Grab onto this fucking bike, stand on these fucking pedals, and enjoy this shit. Like, this is fun. Don't be a fucking wuss. This is me talking to myself. So I did that. I fucking stood on them pedals, grabbed on to the handles, and rode this downhill like a fucking madman. My first time riding downhill, the guys were like, whoa, what the fuck, dude? You've done this before? I'm like, no, first time, but I just decided I was going to enjoy this fucking thing on the way down instead of being scared of it. And yeah, it's fucking scary. You're on a fucking bicycle going downhill. You can't really brake. Once you get on certain downhill roads, you can't stop your bike. You got to wait until you get to a flat to where you can stop. If you try to stop your bike on a straight downhill, you're gonna tumble over. You're gonna get fucked up. So you make that commitment that once you head down this fucking hill for the next 20 to 30 seconds, sometimes a minute, you're just going to ride this fucking thing out and do whatever it throws at you, because you can't change your mind once you're that deep in. So you just go with it. You enjoy it. It's one of the most enjoyable, thrilling, adrenaline rushes you can have, is being on this bike on a downhill and covering all that area and just seeing things. That's the other thing I love about mountain biking is I can go for a 2-3 hour bike ride. When I get home, my brain is kind of in overload because my eyes have seen so much and been close to so many things and heard so many sounds, so many smells in such a short period of time, which is what a bicycle does. It lets you fucking take a trek that would have taken maybe half a day and you do it in a couple of hours. I mean, it's a bit of overloading. It becomes addictive. That overload kind of becomes addictive because in a matter of just an hour or two, you input into your brain all these different bushes, all these different land features, all these different sounds, all these different smells, and you're close to them. It's not like being in a car, guys. It's not like being in a fucking car. It's like being in nature. You just fast forwarding through nature, okay? fast forward and shit. And then when you get home after a ride, you saw so much, you went through so many things so quickly, and was so close in the middle of it all. It's like a sensory kind of overload. Like your brain is trying to still make sense out of everything you just did. It becomes kind of addictive. It's pretty cool. So that's my whole spiel on mountain biking again. What do you?
All right, guys. So the last one I'm talking about is pets and dogs and cats and all kinds of pets, that we can have. So what do the studies say about dogs and cats, Rick? Did you know that dogs and cats will help lower your blood pressure? That's a fact. Just having a cat right next to you purring helps lower your blood pressure. Having a dog like coming up to you and be like with his tongue out, all happy to see you, actually helps with your reward sensors in your body, makes you a happier person. So another thing too, the stats on people who own pets versus people who don't have pets. People who own pets have better credit. They pay their bills on time because they're used to that responsibility of having a pet. So if you're ever renting a home, and you'll notice that people who have pets tend to be the tenants that pay on time. And the tenants that don't have pets tend to pay late. They tend to be like incapable of caring about something. So it's actually a good relationship sensor too. Someone who has a dog or cat, that's someone who knows how to take care of something. Someone who's never had a dog or a cat, that's someone who they don't even know how to take care of anything. How are they going to take care of you as a partner, as a spouse? So that's one of the things, if you read some Patty Stanger's book, she talks about that. And she talks about some of her clients who are looking for, love and relationships. And she asks them, she's like, do you have a pet? They're like, no. Do you have even a house plan? Do you have a fish? Do you have anything that you take care of? And they're like, no. And it's like, well, how are you supposed to take care of a spouse? So it's a really good red flag to look for if someone doesn't have a pet. That's a little bit of a red flag. That could mean the person is selfish. It could mean the person can't take care of anything. They don't know how to take care of anything, et cetera, et cetera. And then how they treat their pet is the second thing to look for. So, but pets, they lower your blood pressure. They're a lot of fun. You can take them. It's an excuse to go hiking. What Rick is talking about with mountain biking. Well, with a pet, you can take your dog to the park, let them run around, play frisbee with them, whatever. Take them to the beach, take them to the woods, go for a long hike. And then cats, you can play with your cat. You can build your cat, some cat trees in the house. You can build your cat some stuff outside. Have a lot of fun with a cat. Cats are really, really cool because they're low maintenance. You don't have to. They're not as expensive as dogs, and they kind of take care of themselves. Like you don't have to worry about bathing a cat as much as you would a dog. So, there's different options with pets. So pets are really good. I mean, that's one of the things you need like in your life is you definitely need a pet. Like everybody needs some sort of pet, cat, dog, ferret, rabbit, whatever, hamster, rat. There's rats that actually make good pets because you can train them to do all kinds of tricks and stuff. So all kind of pets, guys, and adopt, go adopt a pet. They need homes. Never buy a dog or never buy a cat off someone. Always adopt. Look for the adoption places because you're saving a life, and that pet will appreciate that. You're saving their life. They're gonna love you, unconditionally for that. So that's that's one of the things you can do. When I went and adopted my cat was just like looking at me, staring at me, like take me home, take me home, take me home. He was so happy when I took him. So you can't get that anything else in life. There's nothing in life that compares to that. So if you've never had a dog or cat, go this weekend to the adoption. They have adoptions, usually like a Petco, PetSmart, Pet Supermarket. They have adoption agencies that come in, and you can pick out, a dog or a cat that fits your personality, and you can have a lot of fun. It's really a lot of fun having a dog or cat. It's a huge vacancy if you don't have one. Once you get one, you'll never not want to have one again. All right, guys. So that sums it up, guys. It's episode 406. Hope we gave you guys a lot of topics. We will have another compound episode coming next week. We'll talk to you then. Take care, guys.
Have a good one, Steve. Have a good one, guys.
Guys, this is the required legal disclaimer. We are only sharing our experience from years of steroid use. We are not doctors, and none of what we say should be regarded as medical advice. Always check with your doctor before taking any drugs or starting any training program.